And good morning, everyone. Welcome to Mikeylito, live after midnight. And tonight we're going to be talking about things that are going on in Florida. But we're not going to start with uh, what I billboarded with. I'm going to start with some late breaking news from Disney World. Do you believe in karma? Because portions of Walt Disney World's Hollywood studios had a few floods tonight. This is from a story that Deadline posted just about an hour ago, a little more than an hour. Shortly before Walt Disney World closed tonight, guests began posting photos and videos of what seemed to be a new water attraction, a lazy river running down Hollywood Boulevard at the resort's Hollywood Studios Park. The source of the cataract was the downpour that hit the area hard, sending guests in shorts and t-shirts sloshing through the shin deep water rolling down the street. While it might seem an annoyance, most guests in the video seem to be having fun. This was me approximately an hour ago, not shown as a person doing push ups in the rainy street and somebody body sliding into the puddle, wrote Kelly Kowalski above a video posted to Twitter where she's seen prancing and laughing through the water. I think there's some pictures here. Here's one from Scott Gustin that was posted on Twitter. Isn't it nice that they're having fun? Here's Kelly's tweet.
Oh my god.
And here's one from Molly. I really enjoyed Epcot's latest immersive experience in Future World, the crippling reality of climate change. National Weather Service radar for the area showed the considerable rain cell passing through just as the park closed Monday night. Deadline reached out to Walt Disney World and will add a statement when it's received. So that was earlier tonight, just about an hour ago at Walt Disney World. I say, do you believe in karma? Because today, Bob Chapek and the crew at the Walt Disney Company waded into the controversy about the Don't Say Gay bill. I know that's not the official title of the bill. We'll get to that in a moment. Uh, but he released a statement to the company, and of course, it was, publicized uh, in the media. So I'm going to get to that now as I play with the screen. Here we go with that. Disney boss Bob Chapek says the company won't slam Florida's Don't Say Gay bill directly, but is still committed to inclusion. And this was an article written by Dominic Patton that was released about noontime in the East. Facing rising outcry, Disney CEO Bob Chapek has decided to play a political and cultural version of a church mouse when it comes to Florida's new Don't Say Gay bill. with the openly discriminatory and controversial, and this is the official name, Parental Rights and Education legislation, scheduled for a vote this week in the Sunshine State Senate. The boss of one of Florida's largest employers is sitting on his hands for now. As we have seen time and again, corporate statements do very little to change outcomes or minds, said the Disney executive in an email sent out to staff this morning. Instead, they are often weaponized by one side or the other to further divide and inflame. Simply put, they can be counterproductive and undermine more effective ways to achieve change. With hand on bureaucratic heart, the man who used to run Disney World and other theme parks for the company said, "We are going to have a more fulsome conversation about this at the company wide Reimagine Tomorrow Summit in April. Timing that will likely have seen Florida Governor and potential 2024 POTUS candidate Ron DeSantis already having signed the Don't Say Gay bill into law." We'll get to Ron DeSantis momentarily as well. If that occurs, virtually all discussion or teaching about the LGBTQ plus community and sexual orientation or gender identity will be banned in the state's public school system. With almost 20 other states contemplating similar legislation, this latest alert to the far right has become a renewed strategic front in America's cultural war, a battlefield Disney is declining to step on for now. As the Don't Say Gay bill advanced through legislative channels in Florida, Chapek's predecessor took to social media late last month with a fairly unequivocal stance. This is from Bob Iger. "I'm with the president on this. If passed, this bill will put vulnerable young LGBTQ people in jeopardy." And that's the president. Continuing with the deadline article, heading into a shareholders meeting on March 9th, which is Wednesday. Chapek's non-statement Monday also comes after longtime critic Abigail Disney took the company to task. When laws are being passed that are this hateful and dripping with prejudice, there is no neutrality. Not saying anything is saying a lot, tweeted the daughter of Roy E. Disney and great niece of Walt Disney on March 3rd. Right after the second tweet from the Disney heir, the company issued a statement via Good Morning America that did not directly address the Florida bill or respond to Abigail Disney, but instead insisted the biggest impact we can have in creating a more inclusive world is through the inspiring content we produce, which is kind of what Chapek said in a longer fashion today in a further attempt to contain the PR spill. Uh, just stopping for a moment. If you want to stop the PR spill, take a stand. Anyway, here's a tweet from Good Morning America. Why an ABC News program is being used as a PR outlet is beyond me. Disney has close to 80,000 employees in Florida as it continues to move most of its Southern California based jobs, not fully dedicated to Disneyland, in its Parks, Experience, and Products division to a new regional facility in Central Florida, stressing that the House of Mouse is in step with Disney LGBTQ plus leaders, wider members of the LGBTQ plus community, and others for the same goal of a more tolerant and respectful world. Chapek notes, "Where we may differ is in the tactics to get there." To further that point, the CEO tossed out titles like Encanto, Black Panther, Pose, Reservation Dogs, Coco, Soul, Modern Family, which Disney had nothing to do with, they picked it up in an acquisition from Fox, Shang-Chi, Summer of Soul, and Love Victor, as example of where Disney's true heart supposedly lies. These and all of our diverse stories are our corporate statements, and they are more powerful than any tweet or lobbying effort, Chapek said. Seeking to get in front of one element of the Don't Say Gay bill that has already tainted the bipartisan contributing Disney, Chapek did say that newly minted Chief Corporate Affairs Officer Jeff Morrell, whose brief includes government affairs and public policy, would be opening the books on who the company writes donation checks to. The CEO asserted that the former Pentagon and VP spokesman will be reassessing our advocacy strategies around the world, including political giving, as he begins to integrate the communications, public policy, government relations, and CSR, I guess it's customer service. I'm going to take this uh, article and place it in the chat. And there you go. And why this is such a dangerous bill can be shown in another article that I'm going to share with you. And this is from a website that covers Washington, The Hill. Governor DeSantis spokesperson says don't say gay opponents are groomers. And this is written by Brooke Migdon, Migdon, and it was published yesterday. There's Governor DeSantis. We have a little executive summary here at the beginning. Christina Pushaw, the press secretary of Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, over the weekend likened opponents to the so-called Don't Say Gay bill to pedophiles and said the bill would be aptly titled the Anti-Grooming Bill. Bushaw's comments come just before the Don't Say Gay bill, which is officially titled the Parental Rights in Education Bill, is set for a full floor vote in the Senate, which is the Florida Senate. Florida Democrats and LGBTQ advocacy groups were quick to criticize Bushaw, who told the publication Florida Politics that pedophiles groom kids by talking to them about sex. Here's the story in somewhat detail. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' longtime press secretary, Christina Pushaw, over the weekend tweeted that she believed educating children about sex leaves them vulnerable to abuse and likened opponents to the so-called Don't Say Gay bill moving through the state legislature to pedophiles. Quoting, the bill that liberals inaccurately called Don't Say Gay would be more accurately described as an anti-grooming bill, Pushaw wrote Friday on Twitter. In another tweet, if you're against the anti-grooming bill, you're probably a groomer, or at least you don't denounce the grooming of 4 to 8-year-old children. Silence is complicity. Are you paying attention, Mr. Chapek? This is how it works, Democrats, and I didn't make the rules. Bushaw's comments come just before the Don't Say Gay bill, which is officially titled the Parental Rights in Education Bill, is set for a full floor vote in the Senate, where it is expected to pass. The legislation, which has been condemned by LGBTQ plus advocacy groups, Hollywood, and the White House, would prevent primary school teachers from talking to their students about gender identity or sexual orientation. Should the bill pass in the Senate, it would head to DeSantis' desk. The governor has not yet indicated whether he would sign the bill into law, but has said he supports it. Florida Democrats were quick to denounce Bouchard's comments and called on action from DeSantis. Here's another quote from State Senator Annette Taddeo. Less than 5 weeks ago, I sent a letter to Governor DeSantis when his spokeswoman, Christina Bouchard, politicized Nazis demonstrating in Orlando by questioning their motives, calling for him to take action. Today, she posted a meritless tweet where she alluded to multiple openly gay members of the legislature being pedophiles. This pattern of posting reckless, unfounded allegations warrants action by the government. Bigoted attacks like this against LGBTQ people are the worst of the worst. State Representative Carlos G. Smith, who is gay, wrote Sunday on Twitter in response to Bouchard's comment, adding that Bouchard must resign. Democrat, Democratic State Senator Chevron Jones, who is also openly gay, said that DeSantis personally owes millions of Floridians an explanation as to why his spokesperson, whose salary is paid wholly by tax dollars, believes it is acceptable to label opponents to this bigoted bill as groomers, a code word for pedophiles. In a statement, the advocacy group Equality Florida called Bouchard's tweets a bigoted anti-LGBTQ rant. I'm just getting sick talking. I'm gonna take this article and also put it in the chat. And I have been visited by the Russian bot, and so it is now gone. So it 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 really blows my mind uh, how uh, in the third decade of the 21st century that we're still having discussions like this. Uh, Bills like this bill and the one in Texas are extremely discriminatory. They do a lot of harm to LGBTQ plus people all around the country and all around the world. And if you don't think that's true, all you have to do is look at some of the comments that are made in social media. And I think I choose to, because I was reading earlier. Sorry, I have to manipulate stuff around the screen because I can't cue things up the way that I would like to. I want to go back to the deadline article. And we're going to click on the comments. And let's just read a few of the comments and see how they go. Tisk Tisk writes, and I read some comments earlier, but more have come in, so I can't really say what's coming up. I'm just going to read what's here. Tisk Tisk writes, most American parents don't want to talk to their children about sex, gender orientation, school bullying because they are too busy or too reluctant to do so or too opposed to do so. So we get young teens having unprotected premarital sex resulting in sexually transmitted disease or even unwarranted pregnancies and teens bullying other teens out of ignorance and hate and worse. Bullied or troubled teens shooting up their schools, wounding or killing their schoolmates and staff. This is why schools should play an important role in raising awareness among their students of these issues that directly affect their well being. And yet, many parents are opposing these schools doing the right thing for allegedly taking over parental duties, even after so many parents are abdicating their parental role. What a messed up situation for today's teenagers. And incidentally, if I can just come back on the screen for a second, how do you teach kids about a mass shooting that happened in the state of Florida? The Pulse nightclub shooting. The Pulse nightclub was a gay club. What are you going to say about the victims of that shooting? Who were they? Is it fill in the blank? Really strange. Going back to the comments of the deadline article, Howells says this bill is not called the Don't Say Gay bill. It does not ban this from all public schools. It says that pre-K to 3, it should be the parents' rights and decision on this subject. Children in these grades need to learn about reading, writing, and math. Let parents have some say in their children's life. Well, first of all, parents do have a say in their children's life. And number two, can you tell me which school in your school district is teaching pre-K to 3-year-olds about gay sex or about sexual identity issues outside of a child having uh, two male parents or two female parents or maybe a transgender parent? But where is this actually happening? Continuing, Donna says, I spent 10 years working at the Contemporary Hotel in guest services. I believe the gay community working at Walt Disney World is feeling immensely betrayed right. Disney let them be who they were, and there wasn't any group more loyal to the brand than they were. More than likely, out of sincere gratitude, my heart goes out to them. Javerna L. Haynes writes, inspiring content doesn't change the bad laws Disney funding enables, and this is a deadly bill. Fanbui writes, look at all the cancel culture sheeple in the comments below. They read a word, and without reading or understanding the rest of the statement or topic, just start screaming, spitting, drooling, boycott this, boycott that, total nincompoop. Todd Cray writes, it's pretty interesting. Here we have the left that usually pretends that they abhor outsized corporate influence in the political sphere, actually demanding more of it. What a confused lot. Anonymous responds, don't waste your time looking for consistency from the left. John Marks writes, happy to have terminated Disney Plus in my house. Mickey Mouse is dead. Mr. Mike writes, blah, blah, blah. What a pillar of jello. Boycott Florida. Boycott Disney. Brian Pan writes, please don't tell me that the right gives a hoot about the First Amendment. And Oliver responds, we care enough to know that the First Amendment doesn't protect the government against citizens, it protects citizens against the government. Try again. Todd Craig weighs back in and says, when did it become mandatory for corporations and their top brass, unelected as they are for political posts, to weigh in on political issues? Uh, Perhaps when the Supreme Court gave corporations the same rights as ordinary citizens. A media slogan such as Don't Say Gay, which resembles the bill in no discernible way, all but lays out the positions these corporations are to be shamed into supporting. Disney does well to remember that its mission is entertaining families, especially children, not indoctrinating them to the pleasure of those who scream the loudest and demand subservience to their position the most. Brian Pan responds, demand subservience? Only weaklings like you would acquiesce. Bob J. writes, Disney should stay out of politics. Anonymous writes, Disney has never had any respect for minorities or the LGBTQ community. Research the founder, Walt Disney, and see his views on both. Despite these recent PR moves, his legacy remains unchanged. A second anonymous, or perhaps the same one, writes, Chapek is a weak direct-to-video salesman with no vision. Galaxy Edge and the Cruiser are failures. SE writes, I just read Florida's so-called Don't Say Gay bill for the first time. It's 7 pages, 163 lines, and 1,462 words. The word gay does not appear once. Don't say gay. Come on. It's essentially a bill that is strong on taking power away from schools and school boards regarding discussion, indoctrination of a child's sexual orientation, any orientation, and returns it to the parents. It's also a sunshine bill in that the schools can't knowingly hide information from the parents regarding these topics. It's not never say gay. It's don't let schools surreptitiously replace, interfere with a parent's wishes in these matters. Justin responds, back in the real world, teachers will no longer be able to encourage inclusion when a student is being bullied for having two moms or dads, living in fear that even mentioning it's possible for kids to have two moms or dads could get them sued. Also, LGBT students have a much higher suicide rate than their straight peers, simply because of being bullied, or worse, their unaccepting parents finding out. This bill could jeopardize lives by outing kids to their parents. It's morally wrong and horrific. Tim Allen responds, I don't know if it's the same. I'm conservative, but I agree that outing them to their parents is not right. I read an article that said that was taken out of it. So it's been a minute, so do your own research on that. Noah writes, but let's say there's an anti gay family, parents who will disown their child for being gay. This is very common. This is saying that the kid can't even confide in their own teacher. If kids are feeling like they may be gay or they're trying to figure out their sexual orientation, knowing how their parents will react, they go to teachers to confide in, to seek support and resources for. This bill is saying the school needs to tell the parents so that the parents can kick their child to the street. It's completely wrong. Parents are usually the last to find out because so many have told their children being gay is bad, which it is not. So kids are scared to tell their parents for this reason exactly. I saw firsthand how parents react when someone in the family comes out, even as an adult. So this will only cause more issues, anxiety, depression, etc. James Trevor Watts responds, and why are teachers more qualified as individuals or as a group than parents? Yeah, some parents probably need to evolve on their views here and there. The point is upbringing and guidance for children and better served by parents. Sure, I'm sure statistically here and there mistakes will be made. The point is, teachers have degrees in education, not child rearing. Robbie responds, it's not about the teacher raising the child or rearing them, as put it. It's about children having a person to confide in, to trust, someone outside of immediate family members. It's taking a support away from children who need people to listen. Anonymous writes, it's a way to systematically abuse and put in danger LGBT children to appease snowflake parents. Being able to hide your orientation is life and death when faced with bigoted and or religious parents. It cuts off any access to any real life person they might that might be supportive by making it illegal for that person to not tell their parents no matter what the consequences to the child may be. If my parents would have known, they'd have sent me to a conversion camp. Kindly fuck off. Anonymous 2 responds, oh boo hoo. Your entire existence is wrapped up in your gender and sexual orientation, and you demand everyone accepts it. Yeah. Anonymous 2 continues, not going to happen. It's called life, and people are allowed to have different views. Fact. Most people really couldn't care less what you do or who you have a relationship, but stop relationship with. But stop telling others that they have no choice but to agree with you. All it does is cause people to push back harder, and I'm in that category. Sexual orientation and gender identity have no business being discussed with young children in school. Again, I'd like you to specifically point out where this is happening. Concrete example. Continuing, teachers are ill equipped as it is to teach children the basics, let alone the role of a shrink. Now, kindly take your own advice. What would Stevie Nicks do? Respond. You are so hateful and you don't even realize. Just the way you approach your argument is hateful. Anonymous writes, ha, the market will not love this in 14 days. Vox Veritas responds, actual families already love it. And Fax responds, I give him less than 2 years running the kingdom. He's in way over his head. Anonymous responds, he's already been CEO for over 2 years. And Robbie responds, half of that was during the pandemic when Iger stepped back into day to day running too. Kobe writes, the bill isn't about don't say gay. It is about the right of parents to decide what is age appropriate for their child. Our children's innocence doesn't need to be taken from them in kindergarten because some activist wants to do so. Laws aren't hateful just because you don't agree with them. Again, exactly which kindergarten is teaching about sexual identity and gender identification? Can you give me a specific example? Justin responds, right. So, say a little girl is being bullied in class for having two moms. Now, a teacher tells the students some kids have two moms and some have two dads. And that doesn't make them weird, it's just a fact of life. This can go a long way with impressionable kids. Now, they have to sit there with their hands behind their back because they can't even acknowledge LGBT persons exist. Or how about a kid who confides in a teacher or guidance counselor about his sexual orientation or who is outed by classmates? Schools will have to out these kids, many of whom come from homophobic homes. Imagine if this law was about race as much as it was about LGBT stuff. Can you imagine a school having to disclose a student is dating someone of a different race? Come on. Well, Justin, I can't prove it, but if they get away with one, the other one will be coming soon. Anonymous responds, so let's say my sibling is gay and my parents are anti gay. And they've told us this all through our lives. Said they would disown us if we were gay. Do you think my sibling wants my parents to know they're gay when they know they will be kicked out of the house? No. So what's their next best option? Finding a therapist? Or more realistically, a school teacher based on their age is where they turn because they know they can confide in them. This is now saying that if you think you may be gay, you can't tell anyone or else your parents will find out. It's a terrifying reality, but so many parents kick their kids to the street for liking the same gender. And this bill will just out more and more people, leading these kids to be institutionalized for conversion or stuck living on the street in an orphan. Otakuan responds exactly this. As always, the media outright lies about the actual text of the law in order to further the message. The purpose of this law is to allow for parents to decide when and where it is appropriate for their children to learn about matters best left to adults. Anonymous responds, innocent? Ah, no matter how you spend it, Karen, it's a hateful law where only heterosexuality. A second anonymous replies, I wish. Third anonymous replies, me too. R. Decker writes, Disney is being smart, not telling parents and school boards how their children should be raised. Disney needs to stick to the mouse and entertaining people. That's their job and their product. This idea that every company has to make unnecessary political statements to alienate and further cause division is absurd. Truth Sayer responds, Disney is a leftist propaganda outlet. You obviously don't watch the garbage they put out, not only as Disney, but ABC and ESPN. Anonymous also responds, try being a better parent. Not our fault you don't know how to raise your child and need Republican politicians to do it for you. Vox Veritas responds, try spewing less hate. NCSWIC responds, I believe those that drafted this bill are being better parents, as are those that passed this bill. And of course, the future POTUS, the Savage, See, it's right there on the screen as well. Those that ignorantly and cowardly complain, not so much. Anonymous writes, no way Bob Iger would have had the same approach. Sad. JPEG a coward and also not a very good CEO. Eagle Arts writes, sounds like I have black friends. Not good enough, Disney. The Don't Say Gay bill is based in malice toward LGBT people. Our history and the false flag of parental rights in determining what's taught in classrooms. Will those who believe God created the earth in 7 days get to determine what's taught in geology, Eve from Adam's rib in biology, more Christian Sharia law from the GOP Taliban? Brian Pan responds, spot on, very well said. Jamie Feaser responds, first off, sex should not be taught in classrooms to begin with. That's the parent's job. Second, when I was in school, we had a generic sexual education video to watch about two and only two genders there is. That was sixth grade and only about a 30-minute discussion, including the video, which had a note to come home and needs to be signed by the parents before the whole thing. Putting this is just great. Putting X-rated videos and discussions without parental consent to a bunch of kindergartners is immoral. Jamie, I want to know where this is done because I can almost guarantee you that if this was done, there'd be many gay people who would agree with you. But I don't think it's happening, Jamie. Maybe I'm wrong, but you got to bring me proof, especially when it's about agenda, not learning. Kids need to learn to make them smarter, not fictional genders that don't exist. Truth needs to be taught, not false history either. This country was founded on God, whether you like it or not. When school choice gets passed, public schools will have huge fallout, which already is, and basic morals in children will come back. The world has become more wicked, and teachers using kids to teach false truths is completely immoral. Justin responds, this has nothing to do with sex. This has everything to do with teachers now being forbidden from stopping the bullying of a girl with two moms because they can't explain that some people have two moms or two dads. It has to do with someone being outed by their school to their homophobic parents. It's horrific. Imagine a law that a school had to out someone who is in an interracial relationship to their racist parents. Jamie Feaser needs an education, responds. Separation of church and state is literally written into our Constitution. But go off, Jamie Feaser, who clearly needs some edumacation. This country was not founded on God. Go back to school because people like you are a prime example of the failure of the educational system of this country and what the intrusion of religious right into education has done to undermine it. We now have a bunch of know nothing, useless moralizers parroting fundy talking points in the comment sections of entertainment blogs. Also, Bob Chapek is an idiot who can't make Disney fans or shareholders happy, or talent, or his top creative lieutenants apparently. So it looks more and more like he doesn't know what the fuck he is doing on any front. So how'd he get this job? And now he can't even make a goddamn stand on one issue like a man. And he made my Disney stock drop so he can go lick Jamie needs Jesus response. Just shut up. No one is showing X-rated content to kids. You are parroting the same dangerous language that the GOP wants you to do. You spout about indoctrination when you're the one promoting. The country was not founded on God. Spoiler alert. It was founded on the principle of escaping religious oppression. Get your facts right. Maybe you are the one who needs to pay attention in school. James Trevor Watts responds, I have no idea what the GOP wants me to say, nor do I listen to its pundits, read propaganda, etc. So save any feeding into conservative rhetoric for wine tasting parties. The point is parents should raise kids, not teachers. They have degrees in education, not child rearing. It's that simple. In what way do their teaching degrees indicate they should be involved in any way with a child's path through life other than to educate them in the topic they are hired to teach? Anonymous responds, honestly, a lot of charts, diagrams, images being shown to kids in schools these days are wholly inappropriate, and I'm as liberal as they come. Thank you, Anonymous. Presumably, another Anonymous writes, this is cowardly appeasement of discrimination and much worse. LGBTQ plus kids already suffer disproportionate rates of marginalization, bullying, and suicidal ideation. Imagine the message that this bill and Disney Shrug sends to these kids that who you are is so appalling that it can't even be discussed at school. Words matter, and CEOs taking a stand to uphold corporate values like inclusion does mean something. Disney has always been a powerful advocate and source of pride and leadership for the LGBTQ plus community. It's heartbreaking that Chapek is being so weak. Anonymous writes, finally some common sense. Stop this corporate teaching. It doesn't pan out. I'm going to stop now. I've already put out the Russian under a different name. So goodbye. Um, it number one, we really have to have more civil discussion in this country. Not everyone is going to agree. When we have people putting up laws like this, you need to come with some facts because I have a hard time believing that anyone is showing X-rated videos to kids in kindergarten and early education grade. I really don't see that happening. And if it is happening, then it should be exposed and dealt with. I'm pretty sure there's enough laws on the books to deal with it that we don't need another law saying don't mention the identity of this group versus that. As I mentioned earlier, in the state of Florida, you had the Pulse nightclub shooting where most of the victims were gay, and you're not supposed to identify. That's history. That's something that not only should be taught in Florida schools, but in schools around the country. And you're not going to mention who the victims are. That's that's kind of nonsense. And there's ma- many LGBTQ members that are under attack every single day in this country and in other countries around the planet that are affected by attitudes like this. And it's time for it to come to an end. So it wasn't really an entertainment stream tonight, and for those of you that watch it, I apologize, but this has been a subject that's really been getting on my nerves for the last couple of weeks, and I know several people that it's having a tremendous deliberate a bad effect, okay? It's having a bad effect on a lot of people that I know, and again, it really needs to stop. So, um, I guess I'm going to sign off now. I've been on for almost an hour, and nobody has come on, and I don't even know if anybody is going to watch, but, um, again, I felt it was a stream that I needed to do, having come up in the news today. So, apparently, Disney is having, uh a board meeting on Wednesday, and we will see whether or not the situation changes between now and then. And Florida is having a vote later this week, and we're almost certain what's going to happen. But we have to let it play out before we start running around. So, in the meantime, everybody, try and remember, have a little civil discussion with your friends and neighbors, and uh, civility is the watchword, and apparently civics is really needed also in the United States. I'm going to say have a good morning, have a good day, and I will see you the next time with hopefully something a little more entertainment oriented. I do have another stream plan, but I want to see if I can line up a guest to talk about Spider-Man No Way Home and the Batman, but I have to make that contact, and hopefully I can pull that off, and we can have another stream later on in the week, possibly even tomorrow. Until then, this is Mikeylito saying so long. You can follow me on any social media channel at Mikeylito Live, and I will see you the next time. Ciao for now.